Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Before we get into any of it, I want to get us all on the same page energetically. So first we're going to start with just a little clearing. So go ahead and close your eyes if that feels good for you. You're going to drop the shoulders, release any tension in the jaw or the hips. Allow the knees to fall open. Maybe place the hands facing up or down, whatever feels good for you. And then just take 3 deep inhales, in through the nose, out through the mouth, at your own pace. On the third breath, let it all go. And then you can come back. Open your eyes. Okay. So today I want to share an experience I had in the Akashic Records. And it's just the time to share it. I will premise this story with kind of how I fell into accessing the Akash. So the spiel I like to give my clients is that Akash means space in Sanskrit, roughly. And it's a space of pure potentiality. So anything that you've done and not done, said and not said, thought and not thought, since your soul's conception is recorded there. And you have guides, I have guides, you have spiritual guides, you have of all kinds. You have blood ancestors and spiritual ancestors. You may have not met your spiritual ancestors in this lifetime. You probably have met a lot of your blood ancestors in this lifetime. You've got deities, angels, beings of light, animal spirits, anything that you can think of, dinosaurs. Intergalactic beings. People are like, my Andromedan, my Pleiadian guides are coming through. Anything that you can think of, anything that you relate to, anything that you're like, I think I have had that past life. Trust yourself, trust your intuition. Most likely you're correct. All that is to say, this is a space of pure potentiality where anything is possible. So you have to suspend all frameworks of belief as you join me on this journey today. Now, operating from that space, I fell into the Akash, figuratively, back in 2020. I think it was 2020, where it's the pandemic. Burning Man wasn't happening. I'm a burner, in case I haven't mentioned that before. And they were having a virtual burn. And the virtual burn was basically like an online summit for a week where you could attend all these different gatherings of sorts. The one I was most interested in, someone was offering Akashic record readings. However, the timing wasn't right. Something was wrong with the calendar, and we ended up not actually meeting. So fast forward to the next summer, 2021, I signed up for an Akashic record program where I learned how to access the records, which essentially is learning a meditative practice, learning to trust your intuition, and kind of learning some do's and don'ts. And that's very simplified. It's way more complex than that. But that's essentially what I experienced. And since then, I've been accessing the records for myself and for others. Now, back in 2022, I had this really impactful experience while I was in my records, courtesy of a virtual retreat hosted by my Akashic teacher, Amy Robeson. And in the experience, I received a really impactful message, which has sort of rocked my world ever since and has informed how I've been navigating this gift, access to the records, my path, my spiritual path, and everything else. So I'm going to share that story with you today. Some of you have heard this story before. I've only told this story one-on-one and in small groups of friends. It is written on my blog, if you have read my blog. But there's something about oration. There's something about act of storytelling that I've always enjoyed. And yeah, so to start, one other thing, the reason why I decided to share the story now, even though it's been sort of circling around for a while, is because in the last like week or so, probably more, it gets louder as I don't listen. The universe has been sending me this message to share this story. How does that come about? Well, so many ways. I have this client that I meet weekly, and my client also got a message to, at least how I interpreted it, my client got the message to share more with their own community. And their response to that push or that suggestion from their guides was that they think that their collective does better with small doses of things, especially information that's coming from an ethereal space. So I was feeling like, oh, this message is also for me. And I'm feeling like this is like the 17th time they've told me this, so I should probably act on it. Previously, before that, I was in conversation with a friend who is transitioning into having more spiritual offerings in her business. And she was also having a similar experience of like, oh, I just have to like push myself and put myself out there in this way. And so I found myself thinking like, okay, message received, I've been holding back. Go figure. I do keep my cards close to my chest. You may have noticed I'm a very good listener. If you have met me, I don't divulge that much, even though I am also an open book. So anyway, the message for me was that I need to start sharing some bigger, deeper, more personal things that make me feel very vulnerable. And so here we are. I would invite you to, like I said, suspend belief or suspend any frameworks you are operating under. You can receive this as a story. You could receive this as fiction. You could receive this as fact. Where I come from, if you say you've had an experience, you believe it. I believe it because you believe it. So do me a solid and maybe operate in that way today. Okay. So the intention for this journey into the records in June 2022 was to work with my ancestors and modernize patterns. And I had only just started developing a relationship with my ancestors at this time, intentionally. I know I have one, I know I have a relationship with them, but I wasn't raised with special practices around maintaining a relationship or communicating with my ancestors or anything like that. So I was curious. I wanted to learn how to do it. And so this was coming through, and that was my intention for this. And so I, of course, journaled all of it and drew pictures. But essentially, in the Akashic records, in this meditation, I was guided to drop down into a blue lotus as sort of a form of transport. You can close your eyes and imagine all of this if you want. You can ride with me as we relive this journey, or I relive this journey. And this blue lotus took me to a different place and time. And as I landed, I remember like the lotus opening up, and I was looking around and I was like, okay, it's nighttime. It's rural, but like dry. So it's dirt, it's grass. There is a big tree. And then off in the distance, I could see some like earthen homes, maybe huts, something of that nature. It was a full moon out, so it was really bright. And I remember sitting there being like, why am I here? I'm like asking my guides, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? And they're never giving me a direct answer, which go figure. Like guides typically don't. They like to speak, spirit speaks in riddles and puns. So I was like hoping for a straight answer and I wasn't getting one, but I kept asking why. Like I kept being open to the purpose. So I'm looking around and then I start to see these villagers off in the distance, humans. And they're in what looked kind of like a conga line, and they're leaving the huts. They're walking under the tree and they're sort of weaving their way towards me. But I don't think they're looking at me. I don't think they even see me, but they are coming in my direction. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder what they're doing. What are they celebrating as they're dancing? They're going down this conga line. And I realized, like, oh, they don't really have that much clothes on. So it must be like a really hot climate. Or it could be in another time. Like I could have essentially time traveled. No judgment, just receive. And so I was like, okay, am I like back in time where people are only wearing clothing out of like earth-based things? Have we not learned to make cloth yet? I don't know. I wasn't over analyzing, but I was just like interesting, taking note. Okay, so these people they're making their way towards me. I realize they're dark skinned. That makes sense if I'm in a hot climate. And then I noticed that they all have blonde hair. I was like, that's really interesting. I wonder what that means. Don't overanalyze, just receive. Okay. And then I look to my right and I see that there's a big bonfire. And I was like, oh, that's why they're coming over here, not for me. They're coming for the fire. And right when they get to sort of the edge of what would be like a fire circle, there was like logs where people could sit and everyone could gather around a big fire. Before the logs, like to enter the circle, they kind of all stopped. It felt like there was sort of an invisible force field. And so I'm standing there like spirit guides, angels, whoever's like with me, like why won't they come in? Why won't they just come into the fire circle? And it felt like I was in the fire circle. Um, not sure how I even got in if they couldn't, right? And so I'm sitting there and I notice that my blue lotus that I traveled in is off to my left. I can see the huts further in the background. I see the line of people coming past me. The moon's up here. The fire is in front of me, between me and the people. So they're lit, right? And they're still dancing. And they have a little bit of like white paint on their bodies too. And so I'm like, okay, well, they're dancing. I don't understand. And so I was trying to get someone's attention. And finally, this little girl steps out of line a little bit. And I was like, oh, like, okay, someone's ready to communicate with me, you know? So I asked, like, why are you here? Like, what are you guys doing? And she said, we're all here for you, for the ascension of you. And it took me a second because I was like, why is this child speaking to me in such a deep way? And also very confused. Like, why would they be here for me? Like that imposter syndrome, right? Disclaimer, take this as it sounds, or as you wish, as you feel. Actually feel the vibration of this message. So I'm like, why would they be here for me? I don't understand, but okay. And so as I continued to converse with her, kind of telepathically, actually, I don't think much of it was coming out of my mouth. I noticed or realized, like, oh, there's this like wise energy coming from this young girl. I think she's more than a young girl. And each time we had an exchange of thought or communication, she seemed to get closer and closer to me. But she didn't enter the fire circle, she went around the fire circle. And so I'm like, well, I don't understand, like, the ascension, you know, what is the influence of this lineage on me today? Because remember, I came with the intention of working with ancestors and modernizing patterns. And I felt like butterflies in my stomach. And I realized, you know, this is an ancestor. These are all my ancestors, probably spiritual ancestors, maybe blood ancestors. I do have some equatorial-ish energy or blood in my system. And she just said, we're here for you. All of this is in celebration of you. And I'm just like, what? You know, again, feeling very like no one's even acknowledging me. Like, what's she talking about? the more I converse with her, the closer she gets. And then she's sitting in my lotus. So now I have this child in my lotus. The people are still dancing and singing. However, I forgot to mention the whole time I can't hear them. It's totally silent. But I can tell that they're making a commotion. So it's almost like I'm in a force field and I can't hear through it, but I can hear her, which is why I knew we were telepathically communicating. So she's sitting in my lotus. I'm still like trying to pick up the message. I'm looking around like, what do you guys mean? What do you guys mean? Why is this happening? Like intuition, kick in, right? And as I continue to talk to her, I realize she starts to transform and she turns into what I interpreted to be like the village shaman. She suddenly transformed into an older, kind of non binary person. Still very short though, so there was this element of like her being kind of like a pygmy height. Um, I hope that wasn't offensive. I didn't mean it in any particular way. But I was like, okay, so now I'm looking at this much older, short, round, so well fed person from this tribe who's in my lotus and now just talking to me kind of like Yoda. So I'm like, okay, trying to still get answers and communicate telepathically. So I'm standing there and I'm like, well, what do I do? I'm looking at the fire, I'm looking at that line of people, I'm looking at this guide who's sitting in my lotus and how I arrived there. And they were like, you know what to do. And so I was standing there and I just intuitively raised my arms, right? And when I'm in, I want to not preface this, but when I'm in these experiences, I've had many experiences like this now over the years, but when I'm in my records or in a meditation, I'm seeing things from not only first person point of view, but I'm also seeing like a third person point of view, and it just kind of flip flops throughout the whole experience. So in the moment, I just raise my arms and I can like feel that motion. I'm raising my arms. And when I did that, it was like the force field was penetrable and the villagers were able to come in. And so I was like, oh, okay, so I gotta keep my arms up. That's how they can come into the fire circle. It seems like that's what they're waiting for. So they're coming in one at a time. Excuse me, moving some energy. They're coming in one at a time, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at a time, and they're all kind of like dancing around the fire. And the whole time I got my arms up, I'm like, this is beautiful. I can't believe I'm able to witness this. And they're just dancing. They're dancing around the fire, and I can feel it right now. Oh, I can feel. Ooh, I'm getting emotional. Um, the elation that they were feeling, like they were just overjoyed, like pure bliss, happiness, right? Love. They're just elated and they're dancing and they're connecting with each other. And then all of a sudden, one of them sort of defied gravity and kind of turned into the spirit of itself, of themselves, and then went sort of above the fire. And then in this force field, there was, I guess, a hole, a portal at the top of the fire. And so this, they're all dancing around. Then one goes up, kind of swirls around a little bit, goes straight up the hole, goes up a channel of light, ascends, disappears. And so I'm like, arms out. I'm watching them and I'm feeling their emotion and I'm weeping. Okay, I'm weeping in my meditation. And then I see the first one go up and I was like, oh, wow. Okay, so they ascended. They didn't like die. I didn't watch anybody, I didn't watch a body fall and then the spirit leave the body. They went from body to spirit to space and time. I don't know. So I'm observing that happen and I'm realizing that that's what they're all celebrating. They're all coming for this passageway, I guess you could say. And so all the ones that are in there dancing, whenever they're ready, they finish dancing, they're all smiling, and then they kind of lose gravity, and they start floating around, and then they shoot up, disappear. And so it was like one after another, and I'm watching the whole line of the village go through this process. And let's see if I missed anything. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it felt very nurturing. So I asked my shaman elder spirit guide in my lotus. I said, how is my being here? Like, how is it all connected? How are we influencing each other? And this ancestor said, you see this circle? We are in ceremony as a lost lineage. These practices were lost, these powers were lost, and you are a seeker. You're seeking this wisdom, this strength, this experience. You're called to it. If you step into this fire, we can too. That's kind of how it started. Here's a little illustration. The conga line, me, the fire. So all of that is moving. Everyone's ascending. Here's the ascension process. And I'm hearing like, we're lucky you're here. And I'm like, still kind of like, why me? Why? I'm like, who are you? That's when he was like, the village shaman. And so I'm standing there and the shaman says, it's humbling, isn't it? And I start to realize like, oh, like just by me being here, by me raising my arms, by me holding this space energetically, this entire village who has been sort of energetically stuck or locked or left a piece behind, fragmented, is now getting to move. There's movement for them energetically or spiritually so that they can ascend or move on or grow or transform or what have you. That's when it hits me that all of this, like, we've been waiting for you message is that there was a prophecy. I wrote it somewhere in here. I shouldn't keep trying to read my notes, but the shaman tells me that there's a prophecy that this blue butterfly will come and they will all be set free. And so I'm like, what? Like, okay, you know, and I'm still standing there like, what do you mean? There's a blue butterfly that's gonna come and set them free. And then I look down and realize that I'm wearing like a ceremonial robe. And in my meditation or in the Akash in this experience, I was wearing blue. And I look down and I see how big my sleeves are. And I realize that I'm in the shape of a blue butterfly. So then I just, again, fall into weeping in real life as this is happening. And the message that I got was, or what I said actually, I said, why do you think I'm still here? No, that's a lie. The shaman said, why do you think I'm still here? Do what you're meant to do. You know you're powerful. You're not looking for fame, but you're meant to be famous in some way. You know you're a leader with exceptional gifts to offer. What is with the self doubt? Also, not looking for fame was accurate. And so I was kind of like, ooh, I'm really having to like push through this like imposter syndrome type energy and accept that suspending belief of what's real and what's not. I'm having this experience, and so therefore it is real. And so I need to get out of my own way. So I'm weeping. I realize I'm the blue butterfly. I'm the prophecy, but it's not me. It's just the symbol that I'm presenting, if you will. And all of the villagers go through that process one by one until there's none left. Once the last villager goes through, the force field drops down, and then it's just me and the fire. And then the shaman's still there. The shaman passes me this glowing ball of blue light and little hands there. And the blue light sort of cleared out some energy. I can feel it in my heart right now, like borderline emotional. But the blue light came through, moved through my body, cleared some blockages, some energetic channels that were weighing me down, and moved through me. And then I went to hug the shaman. And as I hugged the shaman, their energy just sort of dissipated into like sparkly blue pixie dust, as one does in the Akash. And then I was just in deep gratitude for the entire experience. Coming out of that, I got a few more empowering messages and basically like a loving slap in the face of like, get it together, stop trying to hide, and the like. So, the reason why I share this story is because I'm a firm believer that we're all capable of something like that. I am a firm believer that we have so many lifetimes that we have lived in different bodies and timelines and spaces and planets and universes. I'm a firm believer that all of those lifetimes are coexisting. This is kind of quantum theory, if you will. But they're all coexisting. My consciousness is here in this lifetime, but I have all these other lifetimes that I can drop into. So that experience could be understood as me dropping my consciousness into a different lifetime that's happening concurrently. And then I come back here and I feel the ripple effect of that impactful experience I had there. I'm also a firm believer that everything you experience in the dream world is just as real as what you're experiencing in the waking world. Notice I didn't say the real world. I am a firm believer that anything that you experience is real and true, period. I don't have to experience it to believe that you experienced it and that it is real. So I ask again for you to suspend any thoughts of judgment or, I don't know, anything else that might be coming up for you, because this is kind of a wild story. But the punchline is that we can all have that impact on each other. And part of my purpose I discovered only after accessing the Akashic records is that I'm here to help people break out of stuff. People, spirits, anybody that I'm meant to work with will show up in my path, and I'm here to help them break out of something. In that particular story, if you wanted to apply, I guess, technical term, I feel like there's a better word than technical, to what that was, you could call that psychopomp work. Psychopomp, I can't remember the like exact definition, but essentially it's somebody who's helping spirits transport from one space to the other, which essentially is kind of what I did in that meditation. So that was very vulnerable for me to share, but I just wanted to give you guys an idea of like where I'm at and what I'm doing when I'm meditating, and what's possible for all of you if you want it to be. I remember when I had that experience, when I had my arms out, the thought hit me. They were like, oh, the prophecy, this blue butterfly is going to free us. And then I had my arms open and I remember looking down and I was like, I am the blue butterfly. And that shit like rocked my world. That's what made me cry. And so I've told this story to many person, including my partner, Nico. And every time we see a blue butterfly or the symbol of a blue butterfly or the word blue butterfly, or anytime I have like a transformative spiritual experience that I share, Nico will look at me and be like, you are the blue butterfly, which is very sweet and supportive, especially because they are, I'd say, more on the skeptical side. They have their own connection to spirit, but they definitely are not meditating with me, that's for sure. Anyway, so I want you all to close your eyes just to end this experience. Close your eyes and notice where in your body you're feeling any sensation. Are you feeling like a openness in your chest, or a tightness in your stomach, or a ball in your throat, or emotion behind the eyes? Maybe you're feeling a rush of energy, or maybe like some stagnant energy. Sometimes when people step into their truth, we can be triggered by it because there's a truth we want to step into, and we see others do it, and it just reminds us that there's something that we want, that whatever that feeling is. And so I invite you to just notice where it's showing up in your body, and if it feels good, you can place your hands there, wherever that might be. And then you're just going to direct the breath there. The breath is here for cleansing, grounding, and presence. So as you inhale, you're going to inhale light. You're going to inhale clear, clean breath, air into the body. And you're going to pull that air in wherever you might need it. And then as you exhale, you're going to release anything that's lingering, that's not helpful, stagnant, any imposter syndrome energy, anything that's not helpful, anything that's not serving you. We're letting that go right now. So take a couple more breaths in that way. Inhaling light and exhaling what doesn't need to stay. Okay. If you would like to work with me in any capacity, or especially in the Akashic records, you can book an appointment on my website. You can reach out on my contact page and send me some questions. If you're curious about the process, you could comment on this message or on this video, or if you know somebody that has been interested, share this video with them or tag them in the comments. I'd love to connect with anybody that wants to do this work, because this is low-key the most fulfilling work I get to do. I often describe it as the stoners will most likely relate to this the most. I used to work a job where we would arrive on site, set everything up. We usually had a big team, anywhere between like 5 and 25 people. Usually the 10 to 12 group was the sweet spot. We'd arrive on site, we'd set everything up, and then we'd wait for the clients to arrive. And so a few of us would go have a safety meeting and we'd go off into the bushes or go find a grassy hill somewhere, and we'd smoke a joint before we'd get started. And we used to have, with like whatever coworkers were there, we used to have the most amazing existential conversations. Not every time, obviously, but we would have just the most like out of this world, crack your head wide open type of stoner conversations, which I loved. That was partly why I loved that job, because I got to have that experience. And so when I explain this process to people, I often tell them that it feels like I'm still, like that need is being met of having those weird conversations about things that may not be believable or out of the box. But instead of just being stoned, I get to be sober, and I get to help people on their spiritual journeys. And that's way more rewarding and fulfilling. But it does have roots in in smoking a lot of weed in my 20s. Okay, that's it for me. I will see you at the next video. There's so much to talk about. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, emphasis on share, or just hit me up. Let's connect. My 11th house is in Leo after all. Okay, I will see you guys at the next one. Bye.